It's 19 hours.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webcast. Global Perspectives on the State of People Analytics. This webcast has been pre-approved for HRCI and SHRM credit. Please be sure to attend the complete webcast in order to receive your credits. If you have any questions during the webcast, click on the Q&A tab in your webinar controls and type them there. A new tab will open in your browser with the webcast survey. Please be sure to complete it as soon as the webcast has ended. It is now my pleasure to turn it over to our panel for the discussion.
Great. Hi, and thank you everyone for joining. This is our panel discussion on the global perspectives of the state of people analytics. Excited to see you all here today. I can see that we have quite a few attendees here. Please feel free to use the chat and the Q&A. We'd love to see your comments and your questions throughout. So please feel free to say hello, and we're happy to have you here. I'm going to start with some introductions, and then we're going to have a nice conversation with some experts from around the world representing multiple countries and different viewpoints on the state of people analytics. So to start, my name is Heather Whiteman. I'm an associate teaching professor. I teach people analytics at the University of Washington in the Information School. I'm also a lecturer of people analytics at UC Berkeley Haas. I also teach many classes in data science, analytics, and technology. And I spent about 15 years, first as a people analytics practitioner, and now in the academic space where I can teach it, research it, and I still get my hands dirty a little bit with working with some others in this space too. I'm really passionate about it, love being able to study it, do it, and also be joined by some of my friends here to talk more about what's happening in the field. And so I want to introduce you to some of my friends here. I'm gonna start with Rafael, and Rafael, ask you to introduce yourself, and then have you ask one of our next panelists to introduce them after you're done. So Rafael, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, good afternoon, or the time you are, because we could be having people from all around the world. I am Rafael Uribe from Colombia. I've been in human resources for almost 20 years right now, but since the last 3 years, completely dedicated to people analytics. I have my own consulting firms helping some companies transition from being from having nothing on people analytics to at least have an idea what they should be measuring or doing. Very passionate about people analytics and also about artificial intelligence, how it is becoming part of our world. And I'm really happy to be here with Heather and with the rest of the panelists. So yeah, Aisha, do you wanna go on?
Thanks, Rafael, and thanks, Heather, and everyone for joining in today. It's going to be an exciting perspective that we're going to share from, our own international points of views. What can I say about myself? Well, I'm a very simple, dedicated, passionate individual that loves data, that loves people, that loves strategy. Okay, and I run a consulting firm, IFA Consulting, and it is specifically focused on people and strategy as a consulting agency that, looks to the needs of emerging businesses, evolving organizations that, want to see how they can improve on people. So at the heart of that, of course, is data, is technology, is shifts, from multi-generational points of view, from the technological point of view, digitization. And I've had various experiences in the service industry, from telecom to banking to insurance, a bit on education. And I also have a certification as an ISO lead consultant trainer, ISO 30414. I am also a certified ISO 9001 auditor. I'm a chartered member of CIPD UK and also an associate member here in Nigeria. and chartered insurer in Nigeria. So I do have quite a number of qualifications to support my passion, to see that with the trends and the dynamism and the evolution of where we are in time and space, people and process, excellence, results, impact, is something that is central to making sure that you're also evolving with, the times. So yes. And what else? I love coffee, of course. So then that's when you have my attention. So, Jaejin, OTY. OTY, by the way, is over to you. So, OTY.
Thank you. I have coffee. Hi, my name is Jaejin. Great to be here, and thanks for having me today, Heather and the others. I'm a people analytics researcher at the Leeds University Business School. Simultaneously, I work with many companies who are interested in people analytics adoption, projects, and its development. So I deliver lectures, offer consulting and advisory service to organizations. I now mainly work in academia, but I used to work in industry as a strategy consultant and an HR manager for about a decade. I studied mathematics for my bachelor's and HRM and HR analytics for my master's and doctoral degree. I also published a few of books on the topic of people analytics. Actually, the first time I met Heather was when I asked a testimonial for my first book, when she was leading people analytics at GE Digital, right? It's been already 6 or 7 years ago, I guess. Time flies. Anyway, I work mainly in the UK now, but at the same time, I'm very interested in expanding people analytics discipline in Asia Pacific region. In East Asia, for example, there are many technologically developed countries like South Korea, Japan, Singapore, China, India, and many more. But their HR context is quite different to Western countries. So as we all know, people analytics is not just only about technology or data analytics, but it's fundamentally about people and HR. So I hope I can introduce and cover to some extent about these aspects during this today's panel talk. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you all. And, I love this panel, very intentionally designed to have individuals who have practitioner experience, have consulted with many organizations, have had across our combined experience the times to work directly in organizations, to work with organizations, to do research, and also to cover quite a wide breadth of geographies. So I myself have focused in North America and Central America. We have South America covered. We have Asia region covered. We have the Africa region covered. Across all of our lives, we have also worked in many different locations outside of those that we've lived in and lived in multiple places. So I think amongst all of us, we have a pretty broad range of experiences that we can pull from in our lives around how we've seen the people analytics field taking shape. And I really would like to understand from your experiences how you've seen people analytics maybe take shape and vary in different countries or regions. I'd be curious your take. Are there any cultural or regional factors that you've seen influence how you approach people analytics? Maybe things that you believe are unique to people analytics in the places where you've worked. Are there things that come to mind about regionally specific differences in people analytics?
Yeah, if I can start this question. Yeah, I mean, regional background is a very important aspect. As you had mentioned in her question, different regional and cultural factors affect on people analytics adoption and use in organizations. For example, in a few countries in East Asia, including South Korea, there is a traditional business practice, which is equal share of performance between employees. This means that when HR departments or managers assess employees' performance, they consider not only performance itself, but also employees' tenure or each other's relationship. In some companies, even though in a large conglomerate, assessors are intentionally providing better performance assessment to those who have longer experience or long tenure, or to those who are about to get promoted. For example, if there is a promotion policy in organizations that employees can be appointed as a candidate for the promotion every 5 years, managers tend to allocate better performers to those who are close to become a candidate in order to give them a higher probability to get promoted. It's basically artificially boost their performance score. In this case, performance data is untrustworthy, as you know that low quality or garbage data brings about faulty result in people analytics. This in turn leads a loss of legitimacy of people analytics in organizations. So I think in different cultural and regional backgrounds means different HR context, and trustworthiness of performance data set assessment caused by equal share opportunities practice, as I mentioned, is one practical example we should consider in East Asia countries.
Yeah, that's really interesting how performance as a cultural aspect, how that might affect the measurement and the pieces that come out there. I'd love to hear other responses, but also just going to say, for those of you on this call, you know, we told you where we're from. Tell us in the chat where we're from, where you're from. Would love to see what regions are there. Aisha, Rafael, any cultural differences you've also noticed?
I will answer from two different sides, from the people side and from the process side. I will say that from the people side in Latin America, which is like the region that I know, we used to have an abundance of employees, or the supply of people was like a huge. So we were not very worried about getting the right people because we had like a tons of people who wanted to work, not many opportunities for people to work. So HR was not very focused on skills or things like that because we had a huge amount of people wanting to work. But that has changed. I mean, the last 10 years or something like that, there are more people, there are more opportunities, less trained people or prepared people, and human resources had to change their approach to really to get the right people for the right jobs. And that had changed the way HR works, and obviously how people get measured or get like how people get how we assess people. And so that changed also the process, I will say, from a long time. And that happened when I was going to companies. A lot of companies didn't know that they didn't know. They knew anything about people analytics. They thought that people analytics were about dashboards and things like that, but that had changed a lot in the last 3 years or something like that. And now companies are understanding that if they assess the right people with the skills, with the knowledge, with the demographics, with the connections, with the sentiment, they will be able to extract their maximum potential, which is at the end what we want to do with people analytics. So that is changing a lot. 3 years ago, when I started my own consulting firm, companies were very reluctant to do projects because they said we have everything in place. Now they are open to say, hey, we know we have a lot of things to do. Let's dig in. But it's still starting. I mean, Latin America is still very behind the what's going on in people analytics in the world, with tools, with technology. Companies still have a lot of things on Excel spreadsheets or PDFs, or like a very manual data that is very complicated to compile and to really extract value from that. But that's changing, and that's changing very, very fast, especially with the newest technologies. So I will say that is a hot trend right now in Latin America, people analytics inside HR.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, my experience is mostly North America, but I've recently started doing people analytics in Central America, and you know, the recency of it becoming of interest, I think, is one of the really big regional differences I've seen, where the history isn't there. There aren't a lot of things in place. However, the interest of late, and I think there's a lot of possibility for coming in at a higher technological space, maybe leveraging the tools that are available today, and maybe skipping some of the growing pains that North America had to go through. That's my hope anyway for those that I've worked with in Central America, is maybe you don't have to go through the pains that I went through in North America during the 2010s. Maybe you can skip all that and jump ahead. That would be lovely. But that's kind of something I experienced in North America, was taking those incremental steps towards technological advances in people analytics during 2000s, 2010s. And now with those that I've worked with in Central America, being able to come in and start leveraging some tools that make the analytics a little easier, especially for those who might not have had a strong maths background, being able to leverage the tools today. It's really interesting. Aisha, what have you seen?
For the Nigerian context, which is also similar to the African region, what is quite unique is the thriving youth population that we have. For example, Nigeria, we're over 200 million, and we have a thriving youth population of about 57 million. So this demographics, which is largely split between generational diversity, millennials, Gen Zs, they are the ones that are really vocal, pushing for more digitalization, of the workplace, of processes, of feedback, innovation. So we're seeing a lot of that. So yes, in the beginning, maybe in the last 5 years or so, the term people analytics was a bit unfamiliar. Okay, it's more of a HR analytics or dashboard, HR dashboard. The terminology has evolved now, and it's becoming more globalized, and it's now a language that is shared. Like, we're having this discussion, at least we understand what people analytics is. It's not just an understanding that is limited to either HR dashboard, HR metrics, or just purely numbers that relate to performance indices. So we're seeing that has revolutionized the way HR is seen, is viewed, that is now more of a business partner that is pushing for people analytics. And we're seeing also AI capabilities driving that. We have organizations now that are leapfrogging, investing heavily in people analytics, tools, solutions, cloud-based solutions, so it's transforming. And one interesting thing that we've come to see is that our financial services sector is quite advanced, it's quite mature. They jump in at the biggest or newest opportunity to modernize how things are, because they're also having a global presence outside of Nigeria. They're having, branches or operations, beyond Nigeria, in Africa, also in the US, in the UK, in the Middle East, so they really take people analytics very seriously, because they need to understand that with the subsidiaries that, as they're expanding, it's very important to have people analytics, because if you don't understand and you have predictive analytics, descriptive ones, how else would you dimension your workforce? How would you be able to, anticipate certain risks that are coming on board? So yes, we've seen, very interesting, while traditional, experiences taking place, but we have seen how certain sectors are rapidly creating this whirlpool and making others turn around to see, oh, I shouldn't be left behind in this, movement. I should be part of it. So because if the financial sector is doing so well, then people or organizations within their other sectors would like to see that they catch up as fast. So yes, we are seeing that whirlwind of change, happening, and people really understanding what people analytics is, how important it is, and how there's need for that integration with other tools, other technologies, and better ways of monitoring employee experience and engagements. So for example, where I worked, and places I've worked, I've always tried to make sure that we monitor employee engagement, employee experiences. And of course, that is part of people analytics, because without you monitoring engagements, without you understanding the experiences of your employees, how else would you get the best from them? How else are they going to, be able to deliver on their set goals? So yes, it's evolving really fast, and it's quite incredible. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, to mention about financial sector reminds me about its importance of industry by industry, not only just by regional or cultural background. I'd like to talk about the HR's positionality in different countries. Just one thing, it's because it's cautious. To me, I cannot represent East Asia countries. I'm from South Korea, though. It's different countries of different cultural backgrounds. So please bear in mind about this situation. And HR's position is different in different industry and in different region. What I mean by that, I think people analytics has been strongly influenced by industry. IT industry, for example, people and employees are main assets because employees like engineers develop software and new products, and C-level leaders and managers knew that employees value in HR department importance, which is responsible for employees' issues. But in this industry, like people analytics was relatively easy to be established, such as in Google and Meta, IBM, Microsoft, etc. Finance industry, as Aisha mentioned, is similar because they are familiar with numbers and evidence-based approach. On the other hand, in manufacturing sectors in South Korea, for example, or public sector and monopolized market, in these areas, product and stable business supply chain is more important than employees itself. They don't really care about better performance in terms of HR using people analytics approach. So HR was very struggled to transform data-driven HR in these areas, public sector or monopolized market with using people analytics.
I think that's a really good point, especially as you think about how much industries influence, the region itself, meaning different regions having different emphasis on different industries within them, and then how each industry might have more or less emphasis on the use of analytics based on how they approach it, and then the cultural differences really brings a nuanced way of thinking about people analytics based on where you are, what type of industry you're working in, and then also what type of people analytics you're even talking about. Because yes, software engineering is very different than manufacturing in terms of what you might be analyzing, how you might be leveraging that data to make workforce decisions, and what you might be doing. And I think that's a really important qualification about the intersection of industry along with all of these other points. Yeah. Huh. Okay. Now, Aisha, you were starting to talk about all this evolution and catching up on the fast thing. So we got to talk about what everybody's talking about when it comes to evolution and fast moving things. Because these days, everybody's got to talk about the AI in the room. So let's talk about it. I'd love to hear how all of you are seeing things, because Aisha, you're helping organizations who are transforming. Rafael, you are actively consulting in the AI space. Jin, you are actually researching AI in the HR space. I am literally teaching AI. We are all in this conversation. And I want to hear from you. What are the insights and the capabilities that we think are becoming possible because of AI? And really, if you have some specific examples of how you've seen these new kinds of approaches to technology driving insights and being used in the people analytics space, I'd love to hear those. We hear everybody talking about it today, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on how it can actually be used in people analytics, and where we're going with it as a function from your perspective and what you've seen. Any thoughts there?
I can take that. At least in Latin America, what I've seen is that artificial intelligence is like a very boom, right? It's very trendy. Everyone is talking about that, but not many people really know what this is about, like how it really transform the workplace with artificial intelligence. But I think especially like inside the human resources area, people analytics is the area that will receive the most the highest benefit from artificial intelligence, because it will help from my point of view. It will connect people who had no like a data background, and they will help them to transition to use data. A lot of like companies that I'm working with, people who have been in human resources for a while, but now had no idea with the data or that data background, now are using Gen AI tools or Google Colab tools to help to use data. For a long time, they were reluctant to get into data because they thought they need to learn about Python, about R, but now they have tools they can use very easily or much easily. So they are like not afraid of starting digging into data just because they have a tool that helps them. Another way to understand how artificial intelligence is entering HR is in the relationship with employees. Is right now very easy to set up a chatbot for like helping employees to solve their payroll questions or things like that. And now HR could benefit from those communications or those experiences for understanding and like taking data from that, helping employees to make it easier or at least to find better solutions for their questions. So I see a huge overlap between data or people analytics and artificial intelligence if we are able to transition from just the boom that we have right now with the ChatGPT and all that stuff, and really implementing tools that help connecting with the employee, improving the experience of the employee, and listening better are the three things that I will say are like huge. And the best is yet to come. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of stuff that is going to really change the landscape in the following years.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of AI, there are lots of things we have to talk about. Apart from the aspects what Rafael mentioned, I'd like to emphasize about generative AI, which is really new in trend and everyone uses now. Especially generative AI is now in HR sector. I think it's kind of individual personal assistant. For HR professionals, it's the same. HR professionals now automate their routine tasks, and they are able to use their marginal time for more valuable work, such as interaction with other employees, give or provide one-to-one feedback in promotion process or recruitment process, etc. Regarding people analytics perspective, generative AI dramatically lower the barrier of using data analytics for HR professionals. As you all know that traditionally HR professionals are not quite familiar with quantitative analysis approach. In my case, that I studied mathematics and worked in HR manager, I think this is a very unusual case in HR sector. But using ChatGPT by OpenAI or Claude by Anthropic or other generative AI products, now using those products, HR professionals do analysis work more easily, and it allows us to reduce our routine task and work time. I think the notable point is allow not only just, it's not only effective and efficiently using tool at organization level, generative AI we can use now in individual level.
Adding on to, the point you made, Jaejin, that the HR professionals, are somewhat overwhelmed, somewhat distant from, the and use of, or rather the understanding and the know-how really, of how AI can actually enhance their work, provide clear picture into what the core performance of staff or the workforce is concerned. I mean, in this area or in this part of the region, it's a bit low, as I mentioned, but it's leapfrogging. We're seeing industries that are creating this tectonic shift, making others see that, oh, if it's possible in this sector, then I can consider making it successful. And that is creating a healthy competitions in a way, because if someone in the petroleum sector or shipping sector or whatever decides, okay, if the financial services sector is doing so well, I want to be the first organization in my sector or in my industry being able to bring this on board. In Nigeria, for example, the global report from Coursera on learners participation or learning experiences, their results have shown that there has been a considerable jump in interest in generative AI courses. As of the latest report, Nigerian learners have reached about over 1,800, and there are about 2.4 million learners on Coursera right now. And what is interesting is also the interest in generative AI, which is also it has leapfrogged, to about 1,500%. So you can see that there's a growing interest, and also that is what is pushing that interest, So when we have such growing interest and we have people that have those experiences, have those certifications, and they're coming to apply for jobs, that is where we see innovation happening. And, they are getting into that space. So we're seeing a growing number of applicants, candidates, people wanting to join HR now. Initially, HR was seen as just very boring set of people that, just are very administrative, not very technical. I'm an HR person, so no disrespect to anyone out there. So, I mean, I love people. I'm a people professional. So, but it's the truth. It's the reality. And the more we have these discussions, the more we come to terms with the, reality and find a way of forging ahead or finding the necessary interventions to really be able to catch up, So now we're playing that catch up, because for you to be able to be a good people analyst, you need to have, the passion for people, understanding their working requirements. I mean, it's so sad what happened in India with the, young lady. It's so sad, so sad. And I believe, yes, HR could have played a role there, and perhaps they have been, perhaps they have been. But you see, it's about culture at the end of the day and leadership. From my own perspective or opinion, I largely blame leadership, because it's possible HR has, provided this report. They have been using AI to do this, but it depends on how seriously, HR report is taken. That's one thing. So if HR report is not taken and so much work has been done in providing the necessary information around the people analytics and, all the predictive things that they have been seeing in terms of, okay, there's a high attrition, people are requesting for time off, sick leaves are increasing, hospitalizations are increasing. I'm sure those numbers were there, but they were, I guess, probably just ignored or not just taken as seriously as they should have been. It's just unfortunate. And it's happening all over the world. It's happening everywhere, global burnout. And that is where I believe the role of people analytics and HR professionals and other enthusiasts that really want to break into this space. So you don't have to be an HR professional to be a people analytics advocate, or, so long as you have that understanding of what people analytics can provide you in terms of the reporting, in terms of the, insight that can help take actionable interventions so that certain things can be mitigated. I mean, risks are everywhere. So if we're able to see that, this type of analysis can generate, the certain kind of measures, the certain types of insights where, things can be mitigated, interventions can be put in place, I mean, a lot will be done. So yes, I definitely encourage that, more of this forums take place, more of these discussions take place, and we don't just limit it to HR professionals. We could have someone that is coming from And we've seen it, how people, just crossbreed, from different, backgrounds. They jump into HR. I mean, I have a friend that used to be a doctor, but has jumped into HR. A lawyer. We've seen it. Mathematicians. We've seen it. People from manufacturing. We've seen it. So it's the passion for people. At the end of the day, that is what drives you to say, look, I need to do this analysis, deep dive into it and bring out all those facts that, maybe we're running away from, which I term the elephant in the boardroom. I mean, there was a session I talked about it, and it is the undervaluation and underreporting of, human capital, the valuation of, the report that you get when you do deep analysis, you use AI, to be able to have that predictive outlook and intervention.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and on this question of AI, I feel like you've all hit on a lot of the things I was going to mention. I do think that chatbots are probably the most common thing I have seen in play. By the way, there was a question from Yazan in the Q&A. So thank you, Yazan, for using that around some of the disadvantages. I think, Aisha, you just gave a great example of one of the disadvantages of AI to communicate with employees is if there aren't, the right kind of oversight and controls, we can have really bad situations like the one that you referenced. And I think that was a really good answer to the question that Yazan was putting in the chat there. Some other things that I wanted to mention about AI that I've seen, I've kind of mad at some of the AI hype right now, gotta tell you, just personal. This is Heather's opinion. I've been watching the hype distract people. I've been working with a technology company right now that's been doing some pretty amazing work to make the workplace a safer place. They've had some really amazing outcomes through the analytics that they've done. Pretty advanced analytics, not quite machine learning level, but using just good analytics to help employees avoid negative workplace situations. And they are getting pressure from investors that they have to put AI into their platform. And they're stuck in a place where they want to spend their resources and their time investing in ways to help make the workplace better and to do things that they know will benefit the employees. But they're being told your platform has to have AI and you have to do that if you want our money. And so then they're sitting in this place where they want to build for the employee, but if they don't have any money, they don't exist. And so how can you do good for the employee if you can't keep your investors happy? And we're in this really interesting place where this desire to be up on top of, the most advanced cutting edge tech can sometimes come at a disservice to the mission and the vision and the values. And so for those who are trying to do AI for AI's sake, I would like to ask you to stop and say, what's the problem we're trying to solve? And what is the right tool for that problem? Because I have noticed lately there's a little bit of a desire to use AI where we're not applicable. That being said, I do love, the opportunity for AI to welcome more people into the space. Personally, what I'm excited about, I don't think we're there yet, but I'm excited about is the opportunity for AI to help us get into qualitative data. I think as a profession, us people analysts haven't spent as much time in qualitative data as we probably could or should. And that's because historically it's been a little difficult to work through thousands and thousands of words, or even bust out of words into, say, other forms of soft data. And I think AI could open that up for us. I don't think our natural language processing models are there yet. I don't think we can truly capture human experiences yet. But I think if we were putting our brains behind it, if we were, really approaching it as true people analysts, we could probably build out our systems and build our analysts to do some pretty great things and truly listen to people and use analytics to get there. So I'm really excited about what we could do with people analytics and AI in the future on qualitative. So I'm starting to see it, at least in some of the organizations I've seen, and I hope to see more of that too. That's some fun things.
I think, yeah.
Yeah,
If,
keep
if you
going.
don't mind, I think it's the good point to add about this result of the report. For example, Bain and Company in 2024, this year, they gathered that survey data by 15 different business sectors to understand employees' expectation and satisfaction of using generative AI. For example, as you mentioned, among 15 business sectors like sales, marketing, finance, IT, operation, legal, and HR was in 2023, late 2023, it was fifth ranked with, from my report, it's 84% out of 100%. But after 4 months, it decreased 11% to 73%. My question was why HR satisfaction decreased of using AI. Among those who experienced generative AI of HR professionals, my first gut feeling, kind of intuition, was because of, as Heather mentioned, it's a really good tool to understand, analyze context or qualitative research data, but still I can see that there's a limitation, a lack of understanding of context, HR context. When we do or serve or implement HR strategies and schemes in organizations, there are many complex situations, and it is really difficult to train using prompt to train AI machine to understand those whole holistic situation in our organization. That is, I think, one of the potential reasons. I don't know exactly why, but it cannot be generalized. But anyway, the survey shows us the expectation or satisfaction of HR professionals for using generative AI has been decreasing, and we need to think about why. Why is the limitation? Why is the lack of using generative AI in HR? I'm really wondering, are the panel thoughts on this?
I want to highlight something that Heather just mentioned, and is that artificial intelligence should be based on an hypothesis that I have, and like I use it for a specific purpose. But I want to extrapolate that for people analytics as a whole. In general, we cannot forget that people analytics is not just about data. It's about the overlap or the transition, the intersection between data and human behaviors. And not all the time I will be able to completely understand an employee from the data, right? There is like there is a factor of listening, behavior, psychology that we need to take into account. So the more data you have, the more human you need to think. That's something that I remember from a book. It's called sorry, I forgot, but like you need to keep people analytics on the human side, right? Data will only help you to understand better the hypotheses that you like a position or the things that you want to research. But sometimes the explanations are not on the spreadsheet or in the dashboard. The explanations are listening to people and understanding the phenomena, and that's precisely where I think the skills of people analytics are not only skills based on data, but skills on psychology, products, product mindset, consulting skills, because we need to understand better people aside from the data, helped from the data, but like as a component.
Sorry, just to add to what Rafael said, I know we've said so much, concerning this, but just to add, yes, you just had it spot on when you said it's about the interpretation of the data. You can have so much of the data, but the interpretation, the narrative, the storytelling, the data visualization, I think these two aspects really play a very significant role in making you able to present information in a way that is very, very insightful for instant decision making.
Yeah, it's great. So now, looking at the time, we have only about 10 minutes left. So if anybody watching has a question, feel free to put it in the chat or the Q&A. And as we're waiting for that to come in, I'm going to ask my friends here kind of this a big question, meaning you get to ask it in any or answer it in any way you want. So thinking about the fact that people join this call, hopefully to get this broad global perspective, as you think about the rate of change of people analytics around the world, as you think about people trying to keep up in this field, and that those in this audience were here to kind of understand how things might be changing, what advice would you have for individuals trying to stay up on this? Or maybe would you say is probably what in your mind, one of the most important foundational areas or focus areas for building yourself up in this field? Sort of what's the kind of topic or advice or thing that you'd really like to have those in the audience take away? And then if we have questions come in after that, we'll do that. So, you know, what's kind of your big takeaway on the state of people analytics from your perspective here?
Great. Can I?
Of course.
Sure. So for my piece of advice, scaling up gradually, and you cannot go wrong with your spreadsheets. At the end of the day, you start with the spreadsheets, it evolves into, you know, other forms or tools that you can use. So for me, I found that my spreadsheets are the go-to. I start with that and build up, you know, so it's indispensable. You need to be familiar. At least that's the basic, you know, that is expected for you to understand, you know, being able to use formulas, being able to, you know, work on graphs, you know, dimension them in different charts, illustrations, and things like that. And that's where, you know, you begin to see things in a different way, and you are now able or mature in your mind and in your thinking and in your curiosity to explore other sorts of tools. So there's so many out there. So of course there's Excel, there's Google Sheets, then you can evolve to Power BI, Tableau, R, name it. There's just so much. But for me, I will always advise, please just start with your Excel, I mean, and see how much more you can explore. I mean, there you know, helpful AI add-ons that you can have, like numerous.ai. I mean, it's a good add-on to have, you know, on your Excel or Google Sheets, you know, to do sentiment analysis or, you know, play with a lot of data, you know. So, I mean, it's good to start. So you build up gradually. Another thing that I, you know, do, and I take it very seriously, is building personas, you know, when I'm looking at people analytics results. So when I'm analyzing information on, you know, HR data, people data, I want to build personas around them because I'm having conversations with the data. So it's speaking to me and I want to be able to tell a story from it. I don't want to come out with boring facts and figures and charts and that's it. No, the narrative is very key. So I need to be able to visualize it in my mind to be able to speak it, you know, in a way and manner that people will understand and will relate it like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I can see why, you know, this figure is looking that way. If there's a dip, I should be able to explain it and not be afraid to say it. If there's a hike, I should be able to say it, but the numbers are speaking for it, you know. So yeah, I think for me, like I said, is, you know, your spreadsheet and, you know, scaling up gradually, and then you can explore the other options that are out there. There's so many. Google is your best friend. YouTubing, watching videos, you know, there's so much to learn, so much to do, but start slowly.
I will build on that because I definitely think you need to build up, but it's really important to understand that the highest value from people analytics is understanding HR as a system. And if you start thinking HR as a system, you will understand that if you have performance data over here, demographics over here, connections over here, but you don't connect them, you will miss a lot of value. But when you start like connecting and analyzing, for example, performance based on connections, sentiment based on performance or skills, you will get like you really will dig your treasure and you will find a lot of gold because the value goes on like thinking systemically and connecting the dots on human resources. And that will require not only data, but thinking on the employees, really understanding the that the human side of HR, because those connections are not very logically. You need to think deeper and understand your employees to better dig into that data. I really love what Aisha said about the personas. Is one of the most interesting tools that we stole from marketing. They created, but now we could use personas for understanding employees in our organizations. And at the end, we want to understand them, to know them, for bringing them what they need to succeed, which is at the end our role.
Yeah, I mean, I can see there's some questions. So I'd like to just add one point. Local meetup, like, because we are talking about the global aspects, global perspective of people ethics, we are all from different region and area. I think individual level execution is also important, but also group intelligence is better than individual's effort. So having a network within your region, find those who are interested in people ethics and work together, study together.
Yeah, I like that. Find the network in your region, but also cross regions, like how we're all connected
Sure.
here. Yeah.
Like us.
Love that. Yeah, and I'll kind of take my moment here to answer what's in the Q&A, and I'm gonna look at the time and combine a couple questions. So Yazan is asking about how do we close gaps between nations and ethics. Sergio is asking about, mandatory HR disclosures and how we think about standardized reporting. And so just to kind of blend, those questions together, I'd like to just mention something that I think is pretty powerful, especially from a baseline and a standard and how we can connect things globally. Is I do think we can get further as a practice and as a field if we are all starting from a common, consistent foundation and agreement upon the importance and value of people data. And up until this point, there really hasn't been a wide agreement on common, consistent frameworks and standards for what people data is. Not in the way that there are for finance, the generally accepted accounting principles. Now, it's not because they don't exist. I myself happen to be one of the United States representatives for ISO, Standards for Human Capital Management. Aisha happens to be certified for being able to implement those kind of things. But as a field, we're actually kind of terrible at adopting common standards. And I think to Yazan's comment, I think we could bridge those gaps across nations a lot easier and have better international communication, collaboration, if we were all speaking the same language, if we were all using the same kind of conversation when it comes to what we mean by people data. What do we mean by people metrics? How do we talk about the value of individuals in an organization? How do we report? How do we get on a standardized level? Because I think that once you get that standard level, you can take the advanced analytics to a whole nother level, but not until you get the foundation set. And I think that if we have better standardized across nations globally, I think as an international profession, I think we could do a lot more. And so I appreciate those questions in the comments, and that's something that I would love to see the people analytics profession maybe embrace a bit more. I think there's this tendency to pretend like reporting and metrics is somebody else's job, when in reality that foundation can be really powerful and really help the analytics do more and go further. All right, so we are right at the end. I think we'll just use the last 2 minutes for me to first of all say thank you for everyone who joined us. We really appreciate you being here. I can at least say for myself, I'd be happy to connect with any of you outside of here. I happen to know my colleagues on the panel here are pretty friendly as well, so I think they would agree with that statement. But I want to thank you for being here. To my friends on the panel, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciated hearing your thoughts, your views. Appreciate you taking your time and sharing all of your insights. We really appreciate you. And if you want to make any last comment, we have 1 minute and then we'll say goodbye to everybody.
I mean,
Great,
it
it
was
was
great to discuss
very-
with you all. Yeah.
Great.
Please, Aisha, first.
No, that's fine. We were sharing the same
Yeah.
words.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Adios.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank our speakers as well as all of you for joining us today. If you'd like to view this webcast again, the archived recording will be available on the hr.com website within 24 hours. The webcast credit will show in your hr.com account within 2 business days, and we'll also send you an email with your credit information. Your feedback is important to us. Please take a moment to fill out the exit survey that opened in a new browser page on your computer. This concludes our webcast. Enjoy the rest of your day.